where you are, but spring has definitely not sprung here. So I've been enduring some late winter weather, which has sort of put the kibosh on any kind of detailing projects. So what I thought I would do to kill the time is go back through some old photographs of the garage, dating back to 2010 when we moved in. And I put together this little video to show you the evolution of how things sort of got to the point that they're at now. This was just your everyday standard double garage at one point, and obviously it's become a little bit more than that now. So I hope you'll stick around and watch the evolution of RAD Garage. Had some fun going through all the old photos and putting it together, and I hope you enjoy it too. So what I did while trying to organize and sort all these photos out is I divided them into different chapters. The first chapter I'll go through was the build process. So we bought this house. It's a brand new house. We built with a pretty reputable builder here in town. We purchased in 2009 and we took possession in 2010. So these are some photos just showing, your standard home build. We were pretty happy with the build. One thing that I wanted was a garage that was slightly larger than your average garage. So we opted to extend it by 4 feet wide, and luckily the builder drywalled garages at that time. So what we did is we had the builder tape and double tape and sand the joints so that when I took possession, painting the garage wouldn't be too laborious. So you can see here it's a standard 22 deep. No, it's basically a 24 by 24 rectangle with a few parts that are a little smaller than that. And we had a gas line run to it so that we could install a heater. We had some extra lights installed. But other than the size, it was pretty standard at that time. And once I took possession, that's when I started to put my touches on it. So. And we also had a really nice garage door installed as well. So that's basically the build process in a nutshell. All right, so the second chapter in the evolution of the garage was when I installed the raised deck floor. So I had been online researching lots of different flooring options, and I came across a website out of California that distributed raised deck. So I took the plunge and I was pretty happy with that choice. It gave the garage a real striking appearance, and it was also functional for winter. And this was also the phase where I began to paint the garage, mostly white with one gray accent wall. So chapter 3 is really defined by the efforts I made to give the garage some purpose. And the main purpose that I was looking for was car care, but also just managing all those larger household items that can't be stored anywhere else in the house. So I began looking for ways to organize. Here you can see I've got baskets and I've got my bikes hanging from the ceiling. I had a stainless steel baker's rack that contained lots of different car care items. I didn't have a strong vision of how I wanted the garage to look at this time, so it was a little bit ad hoc. I would find something and then I would find a hook for it. So there wasn't really a cohesive plan. It was more, case by case basis. But it did show me that there was great potential in organizing a garage that would suit my needs as far as caring for my car, but also managing all those things you need to manage in order to maintain and upkeep your home. So chapter 4 was really when I started to let my creative design juices flow. And I grabbed some red paint from the local big box store, and I had lots of masking tape, and I started designing little stripes, and I had sort of like that Audi S-line look in mind. And you can see in these pictures that I also started ordering different decals. the clock, the design behind the clock, oh, in my mind it looked good, but in reality it looked like some, I don't know what you would call it, like not every design choice I made is something that I'm proud of looking back, but oh well. But yeah, the garage was starting to become more than just a cool place. It was becoming, to me, a really interesting place on a visual level. So you can also see in some pictures here that I installed my mat wall at this time. And that was an idea that came to me in a feverish dream one night. And I was really lucky that it worked out so well. I found the mat clamps on the internet, and I had my HVAC guy order me 2 pieces of stainless steel with rolled edges, and I mounted that on the wall. And that's been something that I still have today. I also started finding some organizational things at IKEA that I thought would be great. So I've got some shelves and I have some racks, and you can see those are all around. I also found some storage baskets online. So it was just taking on a much more purposeful role, the garage was, as well as looking good. Well, I did install 2 tire racks because at that time we had 2 cars. So each car needed its own winter wheel setup. And don't judge me, but my detailing product selection back then was pretty meager. I hadn't yet discovered that there was this whole online marketplace for high quality detailing products. So you'll have to excuse some of those, how should I say, lesser than desirable brand names. You can also see at this point that I did have a selection of garden tools stored in the garage on the wall just as you come into the left. But after a while I decided I don't really want those, plus we bought a garden shed. So I cleared out all non-automotive themed or transportation themed items and I relegated them to the side shed. And you can see I started to put a little design into that little 6-foot portion of wall on the left. And I had some pictures framed. I also at this time started buying a bit more of the Craftsman cabinetry. And I was also getting a little more into detailing. So there are a few more bottles. You can see here underneath the stairs I found a place for my shop vac, and I bought some rolling carts. And this was a really fun phase for me because it was now a garage that I decided I would share with the online community. So I joined garagejournal.com and started featuring my garage, and I got a lot of positive feedback from the members there. Which takes us now to chapter 5. So as good as things looked, there were some areas that if you looked closely, they weren't finished with a high level of precision. You know, the builders here don't see garages as developed space, so there were some pretty harsh hacks with wood, and there was gaps in the drywall. So I decided I'd put on my carpenter pants and I started trimming out some of these less than precise areas of the garage, like above the garage door. And yeah, I just bought a little bit of trim wood, and I bought a little compressor, little pancake compressor, and a pneumatic nail gun. I thought I was quite the construction artist, but you know, it really was necessary at that time because there were some real rough edges, as you can see. So I also decided I was going to paint a few of my Craftsman cabinets in a more, I don't know, interesting color. And it was at this time as well that I decided, you know what, I should have an electrician come in and tidy up some of this wiring, and let's get a TV installed. All right, so I had a TV installed on the back wall, and I decided to paint that wall in a dark gray color, and I really am happy with that design choice. It really brought a lot of, I don't know, texture or just some interesting visual element to the garage, and it just sort of took it up a notch. And what else was going on at this time? Really, it was about dialing things in and getting things exactly where I wanted. Yeah, so the pictures here just sort of show that I was really into decals. My detailing collection of products was expanding, and I was just having a lot of fun turning it into that that garage that would make people, you know, turn around and take a second glance at. I also started lining the top of my workbench and other cabinets with industrial liner that I found online. In later years, I did that with carpet, but I also decided, that'll take us now to chapter 7. So there was a comment that was made about how do you keep dust off your microfiber towels, and I realized, yeah, that is a really good point. So I started looking on the Sears website, and I found the matching upper cabinets to match the set that I already had. Plus, I invested in a 56-inch rolling tool chest. So this phase was really about, let's store things in a much more purposeful manner. And you can see that the wall that used to have my garden tools was now becoming my main storage space for my expanding detailed product inventory. It was just a matter of finding the right place for everything, and back to IKEA I went, and I found some really cool towel bars. You could see that the fascination with Griot's Garage was starting to take hold at this point. Okay, that brings us to chapter 8. A lot of the artwork around the garage was decals, and I decided I wanted to get away from decals because, you know, things change, and peeling decals off drywall doesn't always go well. So I purchased a few of these raised letter, stainless steel raised letter logos, and they really brought a visual splash to the space. People used to make fun of me, you know, you've got an Audi that you love so much, and then you have a Kia. Well, I loved both cars. I won't say Kia was on the same level of quality as the Audi, but it was a great car, especially for an affordable second car. But I also started finding some really cool Audi artwork on the internet, and I was finding frames for that, really giving it a European Audi flavor. You can see a few of those things. And I started removing some of the old decals just to sort of refine the design. I think it looked really good at this point. But I was also needing more storage. Okay, chapter 9. This was around the time where I started really getting into detailing and doing a lot of research about what the best products were. I started equipping the garage with the things I needed to really turn it into a top-notch detailing space. You can see the ever-expanding inventory on the shelves, and I was really sort of getting to the point where I had too much stuff for the space, but I was in that I don't know if you guys went through it, but you just wanted, like, it's not a hoarding, but you're just becoming almost obsessed with, well, that product looks cool and I need this product. So, but what it did is it sort of challenged me. What are you going to do with all these products that you're so enamored with? So more storage, more shelves. You can see I've got gallons now instead of spray bottles. And this was also the point where the garage was becoming sort of the epicenter of the family activities. And so we liked spending time in there. We still do, but my son was at an age where he had lots of toy cars and things like that, and he liked to play hockey. So we spent a lot of time in the garage. This was when it was really becoming not our living room, but basically our recreation space for days where it just wasn't warm enough to go outside, or even on days where it was. And you could see I was also beginning to amass my brush collection, which today I think is unparalleled. Yeah, this was a really good phase for me. All right, we are now at chapter 10 of the evolution story, and this is where I became fascinated with subway tile. And you can see I painted the back of my garage door in a brilliant white. And I started looking at some of the walls that I think they just needed a refresh. So I took the 6-foot portion of the front wall and I totally redid it, and I glued and nailed some solid wood runners so that things would be a little more solid. And it's at that point that it became my like dedicated detailing equipment space. And then I started looking at other areas, thinking, you know, where else can I optimize storage? And also, where can I make the design language a little more cohesive? So you can see I started to subway tile, which was, you know, it was a real steep learning curve for me, but I think it came out really well. And my griots collection was definitely, although in one of these pictures you can see my first Adams purchase back then. Anyway, this was a really fun step for me because it was really starting to look like a world-class detailing space. Above the garage door area that had been bugging me for years, I finally decided to take the plunge and install subway tile up there as well. I really like tiling, actually. I find if you've got that precise eye and you've got the time and patience, it can be a really rewarding thing to tackle yourself. So it came out really good too. Very happy with that. All right, folks, we are nearing the end. Chapter 12 is when I decided to add 4 more upper cabinets to the back wall and start to dedicate the space to my SQ5. So you can see I painted a blue stripe and I had a decal commissioned with the SQ5 logo. I also applied the tile treatment to that wall along with some IKEA rails. I could now hang brushes and not have to worry about the water staining the drywall now that the tile was there. It was also at that time that I installed a hot water service to the garage so that I could mix hot and cold and have warm water if I needed it. I also started getting into pneumatic tools, and I bought a Makita compressor and installed an airline for that so that I could just do more projects. My brushes started to expand at this point. I think I bought all of the hooks at one point from the local IKEA. But it was time to start looking at the, oh, there's my little guy. Oh man. Start looking at the walls and where can I bring in a little flavor. I also added some extra lights. You can see that I added about 5 more lights there. And I really prided myself on integrating different storage solutions, including metal pegboard, hooks and rails, shelves. I started using my Craftsman detailing carts a little more effectively. And yeah, it was also at this point though that I needed to start paring down some of my equipment and products because I wanted to open up cabinets and have them look professional and not just jam-packed with all kinds of random things. And you can see my microfiber towel collection started to grow extensively at this point, along with my brushes. I never really envisioned the garage looking the way it looks in these pictures from the onset. This was, honestly, evolution is the only word I can really use to explain. One decision would lead to another decision, which would lead to another decision. I marvel at some of the projects I see now in the garage world where someone sits down and basically in one fell swoop comes up with the vision and then acts upon it and achieves their end piece in one step. As you can see so far, I've gone through multiple steps to get to where it was. But you know, I don't begrudge it. I had a lot of fun with the process. My wife probably wondered where I was for many months, but that's the way it worked for me. That's how I got to where I am now, and I have no regrets looking back, except for that flag that I put behind the clock. I don't know what I was thinking with that one. All right, so that brings us now to the present. I've done away with the SQ5 specific theme and brought it to basically my brand now, which is RAD Garage. Obviously Adams has become my go-to brand, so the Adams products and equipment is featured predominantly. I also moved away from race deck, got rid of the race deck, sold it, and went with Swiss Tracks, which I feel is a more superior flooring system, but performs basically the same as the race deck does, but just it's higher quality, it looks better, it feels better underfoot. And I've continued to add a splash of character to this space, but also hone things a little, I don't know how to say it, but be a little more specific about where things are stored and what things are stored. So now, instead of spending my time working on the garage, I'm optimizing my time doing projects within the garage. And it's really become a place where I can achieve a lot of projects, and it's just a comfortable and an enjoyable place to spend time. So that's my garage story. Thanks for watching. I hope you'll continue to support me and my upcoming projects.